Before you ask, yes, the head is necessary. And the whip. And the Holy Grail. Alright, now let's talk about Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. This movie's gotten mixed reviews, and I was a little worried about it from the beginning because we have an 80-year-old Harrison Ford returning to be an adventurous Indiana Jones, and I was also worried about the director that was not Stephen Spielberg that could still give us the same feel that Stephen Spielberg gave us. That being said, I was pleasantly surprised on how much I enjoyed this film. I believe this movie is not getting the appreciation it deserves purely on the fact that Disney made it, and Disney's under fire right now for a lot of very bad decisions as of late. So I think the movie would have done better if people didn't know Disney made it, because then by proxy and association, it's now going to get bad reviews. I thought this was a great movie. I had a lot of fun with it. It felt very nostalgic, and it was 100 times better than Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. That movie was an abomination, and this movie just felt like a really, really great way to end the franchise. James Mangold did direct this movie, and he did a great job on it. I think he did an amazing job giving us the same feel, the same tone that Steven Spielberg gave us in the original trilogy, and for that I am very much appreciative. It does feel like this movie fits seamlessly in the franchise. Now let's sum up the plot of this movie and probably every other Indiana Jones movie ever made. Nazis steal artifact, Indiana Jones steals artifact from Nazis, Nazis steal artifact back from Indiana Jones, then Indiana Jones steals the artifact one more time from the Nazis to save the day. Tell me I'm wrong. It's simple, yet effective. The first 20 minutes of the film is action-packed. We have a de-aged Indiana Jones punching Nazis, Nazis punching Indy. It just felt like a classic Indiana Jones movie. Lots of explosions, lots of daring escapes, close calls. It was a lot of fun. It built up the story. It gave us a little bit of where this movie is going to go and where the set points are. Then we're fast forwarding to present time where we have an 80-year-old Indiana Jones about to retire from being a professor. And this is where I started to question where this movie was going to go because of his age and his ability to do stunts and daring escapes and things like that. But he doesn't really play into that right away. He gets sucked into another adventure by his goddaughter, who steals a dangerous artifact trying to sell it. Now, the chemistry between Indy and his goddaughter doesn't really feel natural at first. It feels really off and distant, but then again, that could be because they haven't seen each other in a long time. But progressively, it gets better. And I start to feel this emotional tension between the two, almost like a parent-child relationship where you love them, but you can't stop yelling at them for doing something stupid that they shouldn't be doing. But her stupid decision is what sucks Indy back into this adventure to get this artifact back. And Harrison Ford plays an 80-year-old Indiana Jones really well because he still wants to be adventurous, but he knows he can't because knees hurt and back hurts, and he uses all those excuses to why he can't do what he used to do. But now he tries to climb a bookshelf and it hurts, and his knees and he's pausing. He's like, I need to rest. Or you haven't been shot X amount of times, or he uses all the things that happened to him throughout previous movies. He brings up in a joking way of why he can't move the way he did. And honestly, you know what? I can relate. My knees don't work the way they used to either. It made for some pretty funny scenes, and he used that to the character's advantage, so it worked out way better than I thought it would. I'm just really glad they didn't go the route of having an older Indiana Jones doing the same things that a 30-year-old Indy would do, because that just wouldn't have worked out. So this was definitely the smarter route. Now, the CGI in the film is sketchy at times, but really good at times. Now, the times that it's sketchy, I feel that it was done that way on purpose. During particular scenes of the movie, it looks a little sketchier, but I feel like it's done in a way that makes it look like the older trilogy. Now, the CGI back then was not great, but I think by actually not using great CGI in these particular scenes, it gives you more of a nostalgic feel to Indiana Jones. It really brings that older sense of what Stephen Spielberg brought to the screen to this newer movie. So being perfect all the time isn't what's needed to make a film great. The imperfections that are smartly used, I think, is what gives it that feel and that tone that we need for the movie. Now, what really worked well for this movie is the same thing that worked really well for The Last Crusade, and that's the emotional side of Indiana Jones. In The Last Crusade, we got a lot of emotion because his father was involved, and in this one, there's a lot of emotion for reasons that really work, and I don't want to say what they are because it spoils it. So when you see it, you'll understand, but there's a lot of personal struggles that Indy is going through, and those struggles really work well for the story of this movie. Now, I think some of us can relate to these struggles, and if you can't relate to these struggles, it's definitely emotional enough to where you will feel something for Indy. Now, I know all of these reviews that you ever watch are personal opinions, and this is just mine. I thought this movie was filled with fan service. It was nostalgic. It felt right. It felt like it fit in the franchise perfectly. And it was a really, really good ending to this great franchise. Almost to the point where I completely forgot that Kingdom of the Crystal Skull existed, which maybe was the director's intent. Maybe it wasn't, but I think that's a great thing. It fits right in with the end of the trilogy. So I think if you're an Indy fan, you're going to enjoy this movie. If you don't nitpick the crap out of it, which I think people do way too much, you nitpick the crap out of movies. No movie is perfect. There's going to be flaws. There's going to be things that you love, and there's going to be things that you're like, oh, well, we could have done that a little differently. Overall, great movie. Could be worse. You could watch Kingdom of the Crystal Skull again. But as always, if you've seen it, let us know what you thought in the comments.